Okay, so the title of this video is called Mental Models, and in this video I'm going to be discussing about how we form our mental models and what we do with them. Specifically, it has to do with the autism spectrum disorder and the schizophrenia spectrum disorder, which has to do with why do people think I'm autistic? What is autism? Why am I diagnosed with schizophrenia instead of autism and all that? So the thing is, the first thing is I have my notes, and so I'm going to be looking downwards as I talk. So it might not feel appropriate that my eyes are looking upwards, but it has nothing to do with autism. So the thing is that there are at least 500 kinds of autism. So if there's a spectrum, that spectrum is 500. Can you see why that it's so the thing is like 500? What does that mean? So the thing is that there are at least 1,000 genes, and they're all cumulative. That means that they all add up together to have either extreme autism or not. And so the thing is that what that has to do with autism is that the brain is plastic and the brain is three-dimensional. The brain has 2 ears, it has 2 eyes, it has a nose, it has touch, it has the 5 senses, and it has the judgment or cognition. So there's perception and judgment, which is decisions versus detection versus abstraction versus preferences. And so the thing is that's Myers-Briggs type indicator of the thinking, feeling, intuition, and sensing. And so the thing is that in the brain, because the brain is plastic, the quality of that plastic will determine how well it's able to perceive and how well it's able to make judgments. And so the thing is that if you are thinking about a stereotypical person, where you'll say like, oh well, he's schizophrenic or he's autistic. What do you mean by that? What is it? Because of the way they look? Well, according to Myers-Briggs type indicator, some people will think stereotypically, because the person, the way they look and act, they are not like me, therefore they're not this way or that way or whatever you want to call it. And so the thing is that usually INTJs and usually INTPs are called autistic because of stereotypes. So the thing is that like one of the major things is like the hands. Like for example, I don't flap them about like that. You see, like I just like crunch them because it feels like arthritis. You know, it's like I type with 2 fingers because I can't type with 10 because it feels wrong and I can't do it. So stretching, you could call that stimming if you want, but it's not really. It's just like my aunt, she plays music. She's 75 years old. She hears music in her head and she goes like this all the time. But I asked her, why are you doing that? And she says, I hear the music, so I move my fingers. Is that stimming? No, that's not stimming. So the thing is that there's this thing called the free energy model. So the free energy model is where it says that the quality of your plastic inside your head, as the signals bounce around inside your head back and forth, as they bounce around back and forth, what happens is either there's too much noise or there's not enough noise. And so the thing is the propagation, can it get from here to here, or is there something blocking it? Or is it just the signal is too weak to get to from here to here, so it can't travel that far? Or is it just blocked? And so the thing is that if you were to differentiate autism from schizophrenia, one would be blindness and the other would be the false positive. And so the false positive would be like, he's thinking thoughts about me because you know, it's like I was thinking about going to the store, and then I met Joe at the store, and all of a sudden, oh, Joe knew I was going to be at the store, and therefore I have that would be a schizophrenic thing. Or like, you know, it's like I use my magic wand, and then I can make things happen in the real world, and magical thinking, because, you know, it's like one thing is connected to the other thing, and it's my thoughts make things happen in the real world. But then the blindness is where it's like you can't tell what's happening. Everything is just like, why did this happen? I don't know. And that's the thing, is that autism is associated with mental blindness. So it's like theory of mind. Like, he's thinking one thing, and I can't tell what he's thinking, and I don't even know that other people are thinking things. And so the thing is that when autism was first discovered, autistic children did not speak until they were 4 years old. That's extreme autism. But the thing is that some people that don't talk till they're 4 years old have extremely high IQs. Not everyone, because it's a spectrum. But the thing is that because people have can't talk until they're 4 years old, their visual systems develop highly accurately, except it doesn't develop motion. And so the thing is that when you think of a person, how does the person move? That will determine how you understand them. And so a mental model determines how you understand reality by the way things move, and their shape and their color and their location in space and time and temporal propositions and everything with time and space. And so the thing is that a 4-year-old that can't speak, they never understood how the face moved. They never understood how the eyes moved. They never understood how all those things move together inside other people. And so if they can't see what's going on inside the other person, they can't have it's going on. They can only know what's going on inside them and never know what's going on inside another person. And so it's like from the inside to the inside of what we know is going on inside people. And so the thing is that this can lead to several things. Like, it can lead to immaturity, like you act like a child, or you're blunt all the time, you say things that are inappropriate, or you're logical all the time, and so you think that people that aren't logical are lying about what they're saying, or whatever it is, and then so the thing is that, like, the medial prefrontal cortex is where we have a sense of self. So things like everything that we do, all the motions we make, all the things that we know about ourselves that's in motion, you know, is located in the front of the brain, in the medial prefrontal cortex. And then we connect that to the motion part and everything else that happens with other people, and that's where it all connects together. But the thing is, that part of the brain doesn't develop in autism, at least for the extreme parts. But but the thing is that in schizophrenia, it's like I think something happens, and then that means that it automatically, oh, I made it happen. I made him. He's thinking about me because I made him think that, or something like that. And so the thing is, like, so for example, eye motions, you know, so it's like I have very different kinds of eye motions when it comes to thinking, because I'm going into my unconscious. So it's like if I start okay, so like right now I'm staring at the screen, and the screen has a picture of my face on it, so I can tell exactly what I'm doing as I look at look into the camera. I can see my face right now. So the thing is that usually when I talk to people in real life, I usually just like it's called pausing. So the thing is that when you pause, you don't know what to say, so you go into your head for an internal reference. And so when you internally reference what's in your head, your eyes make motions, and those motions determine what exactly where in your mind you're trying to locate the information, so that you can actually say to another person, okay, so is this appropriate for that person? Because it's not everything you say is always dependent on what the other person finds appropriate and not appropriate. Everyone does not find the same things appropriate. Everyone does not find the same things inappropriate. And so the thing is that like going back to the stereotypes. So if I move my eyes in different directions and I'm not directly staring at someone, for example, they might think that, oh, well, they don't want to stare me in the eye because they don't understand what I am thinking, because they don't have a theory of mind. Or if I'm staring at them directly and I don't move my eyes at all, it's like that's something else that autistic people commonly do, but the thing is they don't even though they're staring directly at you, they don't know what you're doing. And so the thing is, there's a place in the back of the brain that's called it's called face blindness. So the thing is, like, having that one part of your brain damaged does not make you autistic. Not being able to see things, right? So it's called aphantasia. Having aphantasia does not make you autistic. Now, what makes you autistic are those 500 kinds of autism, the 1,000 genes that accumulate to make your plastic unable to understand people in different ways, in different categories, in different types, So it's like ADD. So it's like ADD people are very impulsive. I have ADD. So the thing is that, like, all these things go together. But it's not like I don't understand people. You see, it's just it's like, for example, my dad, he hit me on the head when I was 1 year old until I stopped crying. He blew in my nose when I was 1 year old until I stopped crying. Now, that causes brain damage. That causes trauma. Now, the thing is that when people have that sort of thing happen to them, it's not the same as autism. It's not the same as schizophrenia. It's not the same as things like that. For example, like Simon Baron-Cohen, he made this systematizing versus empathizing scale, whether or not you're a systematizer or an empathizer. Now, the thing is that when you talk about IQ, when you talk about intelligence quotient has to do with how much you're able to manipulate. So the thing is that if we have the brain, and one part of the brain talks to the other part of the brain, that communication will be able to help you understand certain things. And so, for example, faces. Some people have super facial recognition ability because they stare at faces all the time. Some people can draw well because they, have good vision in the occipital lobe. And so the thing is, there's so many different parts of the brain that help you understand things that it's like, depends on how it's all connected. Because you can just go and say, oh, well, he doesn't understand how to play music that well. And so they would make a judgment about that and say, oh, well, this type of music sucks, that type of music sucks, I like this music, I don't like that music, and it all goes haywire after that. But the thing is that back to IQ. So IQ is where, because the brain talks to itself in a different way, there's understanding and then there's manipulation. So the thing is, and then there's creativity, and then there's imagination. And so the thing is that this is what I got on my scores. So looking at that, my verbal is the highest, then is my spatial, and my working memory is below average, and my processing speed is below average. Now the thing about IQ is that everything is bouncing around in the head. And so the thing is, when you grasp something, when you're able to, I can hold 4 digits in my head. That's an IQ of 80. The average IQ is 100, and that's 7 digits. An IQ of 200 would hold 27 numbers in your head at the same time. Now that's not the same as associative memory through the vision, because through the vision you can hold thousands of numbers just by associating a number with an image, and that's through the imagination. That has nothing to do with digit span at all. So things like, there's a difference between the verbal, which is left brain, and then there's the right brain, which is visual. And so working memory for the vision is here, and verbal working memory, the phonetic loop, is here, and so the visual sketch pad is here. And so the thing is that and then the hippocampus is in the middle. So that has to do with memory, and that has to do with memory throughout the entire brain, but there's a left and the right hemisphere hippocampus. And so because everything is looping into itself, because everything curves back into itself, it creates a fractal. And that fractal is able to tell you how a person thinks, how a person is able to understand things. And so the thing is, like, it's not just about how many numbers you can hold in your head. It's not just about how many, how well you're able to paint. It's not about it's not about the number of notes you can play in your head, because the thing is that like for example, Radiohead is a rock band, and usually the highest IQ people listen to Radiohead because it has the most things going on at the same time. It has like 15 things going on at the same time. It's one thing here and one thing there, and it's all 3D and it's happening all at the same time, and that's why people with high IQs are usually associated with listening to Radiohead. And so the thing is that IQ is just about attention. So how many things can you pay attention to at the same time? And when you pay attention to things, that's definitely an issue, because the human mind in working memory, even though we have 100 billion brain cells, we're only able to take in so many bits of information at the same time. For example, like I can pay attention to 4 numbers, yet I have 100 billion brain cells. So what's up with that? It's because of partitioning. So partitioning is when you chunk things. And so when you chunk things, that means that you're taking things apart and you're putting them back together. And when you take things apart and put them back together, your brain is doing that with things like your hands. So you have 10 fingers, and but in your imagination, you're able to see things with completely more detail. I can't do that because I have aphantasia, so that means that I can't see things in my mind's eye. I have no mind's eye. But the thing is that I can reference things through my memory. So when you're putting things together and taking things apart, that happens subconsciously and consciously. But the thing is, because it's all happening at the same time, the limit is somewhere near 27 items for the highest intelligence quotient, and that's visual. That's visual and phonetic, and then they work together throughout to do what those things do together. And so for example, the front of the brain puts things together and then takes them apart and puts them back together again. And that's all happening subconsciously. And then the visual part is doing that, and that's why people are able to draw. And so the thing is that mental models are whatever your intelligence quotient is called quant. Quant means quantity. That means the number of things. And so when you're doing a number of things, for example, Iron Man, I mean the people that made the graphic visuals of Iron Man, the movie where he has that suit, and people had to make a graphics engine. They had to make a physics engine. They had to make a computer program that put things into 3D. And to make those movies, to make the Hulk, to make the Avengers movies, to make the movie Endgame, Avengers Endgame. And so the thing is that in order to do that, you have to take things apart and put them together in order to make a physics engine inside the computer. And you have to think of all those so the thing is that you have 27 items in your brain for the highest level, IQ 200. And when you take but the thing is you have 27, but the thing is you multiply that because 27 times 27 is just 229. And so the thing is that happens subconsciously. So the thing is like when you're putting things together, and it's like working memory is interconnected. So everything is interconnecting, and so things like when you're making a movie of Iron Man and Avengers Endgame, there's more than 27 things. But the thing is that but when you're putting it together, 27 things happen in your mind at one time. And then you like I said, it's a fractal. So it's a folding, everything is folding onto itself. And once it folds onto itself, you're able to create things. And then once you create things, when you create something, you don't have to do it all at once. That's why you take some items, you put them together, and you see how it is. And if it's wrong, you correct the parts that aren't right. And once you correct the parts that aren't right, it all fits together and it's all one thing. And then you memorize it. And that's what my hippocampus does. It takes all these things that are inside my head, it recombines them, and then it puts them back together, and then it creates one thing. That one thing is my mental model, and then I can adjust my mental model whenever I need to create something new. But I'm not seeing it. I'm not hearing it in my mind's ear. I'm not seeing it in my mind's eye. I'm just using my hippocampus, and I'm putting it, like for example, like I remember making a movie in Lego Movie Studios about the remake of The Blob. You know, it's like I never saw the movie The Blob from 1958, but I had a Lego Movie Studios Lego set, and I made a movie on my Windows 98 computer when I was 12 years old. And I remember that the blobs went together, and there were two of them because of like a love story, and then they got destroyed or something like that. I don't know. But the thing is, like when I remember things, I don't see them. So everything I just told to you came out of my subconscious. It came out of my unconscious. So I just told you something that I remember, but I don't see it as I remember it. And so the thing is, someone said that that's why I have autism. But that's not true, because if I had autism, I would not understand what the story was about. You see, like, stories happen because people take things. They take things and they create stories from them, and then those stories are about things that happen, and they're not mentally blind to what's happening, and they're not making false propositions. They're not making false positives. They're not saying, "Oh well, my magic wand is going to actually make that doll turn into a real life character like a schizophrenic would actually believe." That's a false positive, and it's not blind in the sense that I understand what the story is about. So I can't say for sure that I'm not autistic. I'm just saying that, I mean, because like I can't see things in my head. So if I can't see things in my head but I still understand them, what does that mean? I mean, I understand people. I mean, I watch a movie and I understand the motivations behind what people are doing. I have a theory of mind, but does that mean I can't even see my mom's face when I close my eyes? So, but I understand exactly how she is as a person. So that can't be autism in the general sense, because autism is 500 kinds of accumulative genetic changes that, I mean, so the thing is that autism is not one thing, schizophrenia is not one thing, and we have stereotypes about people. For example, Simon Baron-Cohen, that made systematizing and empathizing. I made a funny joke to someone once that because he's British and he has autism, because all British people have autism to me. So, and some people think that, and in the case of schizophrenia, schizophrenics can take in things. Since the signals can't propagate fast enough, they can take cold showers. They can, I mean, it's what our ancestors used to do. Just sensitivity. They're insensitive to their environment. Schizophrenics are insensitive to their environment. So that means that you can it's just that usually the cold doesn't affect them. The cold weather doesn't affect them. The hot weather doesn't affect them, because the signals going through their skin is not sensitive. I mean, they take everything in and they process it all at once, and so that's called extroversion. So schizophrenia is extroversion, taking it all in, and then introversion is blocking it all out, which is autism. So I mean, the thing is that if we're going to go by our stereotypes, we're not going to get very far, because that would make introversion autistic, and that would make extroversion schizophrenic.